Hi, I'm Ian from Ian Taylor Trekking, and today I'm going to talk about the gear and packing for a Mera Peak climb or expedition. So I'm going to showcase some of the gear. If you want to get in touch with us, the best thing to do is just email us, because there's no one size fits all when it comes to the gear that you need. So boots are going to be different, clothing is going to be different. So get in touch with us at iantaylortrekking.com, and we give out 45-page documents with full details on the trip, how to train, how to prepare. But let's get into the gear for this trip, and then we can talk to you after. We can pick up the phone and talk to us. So backpack first. I like to use anywhere from a 40 litre, 50 litre backpack. I like to have good waist straps. And this bag is going to need to carry harness, ice axe, potentially more boots, more layers. So you do need on a Mera Peak trip just a larger bag, or at least something that can hold all the equipment that you need. 44 litres is this bag. Sometimes I bring a 50, but we can talk to you about which is the right backpack for you. So this is what I have in my backpack every day. I'm going to have Gore-Tex pants. So I like the Gore-Tex pants that open up from the side. So if it's too warm on the glacier, you can open them up and let some airflow in. So I use Gore-Tex pants. I use them, obviously you need it if it rains or snows. These are in my backpack every day. So I'll put these in. Alongside that, every day I have a Gore-Tex jacket. So any sort of Gore-Tex jacket, lots of different brands do them, from Arc'teryx through to Berghaus to Patagonia. But this is in my backpack every day. So I'll slot that in. So even with the backpack, that's almost half full. If I was to add harness and fleece and gloves and gear, you got to be careful that you get the right pack that can hold everything. Ice axe on the side, harness, water can go on the side, water can go in the back. But that's my rain gear in my day pack. From there, I always have a trekking pole or two. On our Mera Peak trip, we do a lot of up and down steps. We don't go over the pass directly into Mera Peak. We do a lot of acclimatization lower. So having some good trekking poles, having two is great. I like to have one at least on a trip. I like these cork handles, nice and comfortable. We can recommend different brands that you can use, but really important to have a trekking pole. So from there, getting into the boots, I like to have a better boot. I can use this whether I'm in Aconcagua or Elbrus or Island Peak or other peaks around the world. It's a double boot. It's a La Sportiva G2SM. Possibly overkill in the warmer months, but recently there was people airlifted off Mera Peak, and there is every year with frostbite. So you don't want to compromise on your hands or your feet. And I like to have this boot, mountaineering boot, for all the trips that I do. I also like to have decent trekking boots. At the moment I'm using La Sportiva Tarango GTX. These are Mendel vacuums. Solomon have good trekking boots. But you need a good pair of solid trekking boots for this trip, all the way in and out. You don't want them breaking on you halfway through the trip. And they also need to be worn in. They're the trekking boots I have. I also have just a pair of trail shoes, camp shoes. Arriving into camp, I want to be able to change over from the hiking boots that I've been walking in all day, and I want to have these with me. So any sort of trail shoe, any sort of shoe is fine to use. I'll use these. From there up, so we'll look at, that's what I'll have in terms of footwear. In terms of socks, and then we'll talk about the bottom all the way up to what I would wear on the top. So I always have a range of different socks. Socks are hard because you see online there's like thin socks, medium socks, thicker socks. And then you're going to be trekking in temperatures 60 degrees Fahrenheit up to potentially minus 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's going to be a wide temperature range. So I like to have a mix of light socks, liner socks. These are like my liner socks. You can actually see through them. I use these mixed with the bigger Summit socks in my big mountaineering boots. So I have these two options. I usually bring one of these and one of these that I use when I'm on the glacier. And then the rest of these socks are kind of a mix of light socks, kind of to medium weight socks. And I always have one pair that when I arrive into camp, when I switch out of my hiking boots, I switch into that fresh pair that I use every day when I put on my trail shoes or my camp shoes. So you kind of need a mix of these. It depends on how much you want to bring, but I usually have at least one of these, one thicker sock, one of the base layer socks, and then I have, 4 to 5 of the kind of lighter hiking, like lower weight socks. So we can kind of get into more detail about that, but I'll just slot these in here for now. Underwear. So I always like to have merino underwear. These ones are icebreaker. These ones are a little thicker, smart wool ones. It depends on your, if male, female, you're going to need more than, 3 or 4 pairs. You might need more than that. That's a personal choice. I usually bring 4 pairs, 5 pairs for like a 3-week trip into Mera Peak. So I'll slot those in. So again, from the bottom up, when I arrive into camp every day, I like to wear like a fleece pants, something comfortable that I can change into. I had fresh socks. Now I have fleece pants that I can change into. I like to wear these in and around the camp and just to be comfortable. So I need these. Something similar is fine. From there, I'll always have one pair of shorts, just trekking shorts, flexible, easy to clean, easy to dry, trekking shorts and super lightweight. Definitely need a pair of those. Some people like to have different layers of trekking pants. I normally just bring one just so I'm not loading up the bag with too much stuff that I don't need. A lot of people have the pair of shorts and then they have the kind of cut off pants that can be shorts too, and they can be a trekking pant. So you got one pair of trekking pants or 2 pairs of trekking pants with you all the way through. So that's a personal choice, but you definitely need mid-weight layers. The shorts can do in the warmer temperatures, and these are going to do higher up on the trail. So when also I want to have a pair of merino, these are 260 icebreaker merino, thicker layer. I usually use these sometimes when I'm sleeping. If it's really cold, I'll use the merino. Definitely when I'm on the summit night or when I'm climbing higher in the mountain, I'm using the merino mixed with the Gore-Tex as my kind of summit shell going up to the summit. Now, if it was really, really cold and the temperatures were dipping, I would use the merino, possibly the trekking pant and the Gore-Tex. Rarely have I ever used that, but some people need it because they feel the cold more. So definitely the 260 merino base layer mixed in with the Gore-Tex, mixed in with the trekking pants. You've got options to cover your legs in terms of all sorts of temperatures. But mostly I'm using these for sleeping and then on the summit night. So I'll put those in. Okay. So that's kind of the bottom layers that I have that I'm going to be using. So from there, as I kind of come up into my upper body, I'm going to have a range of different layers. When we're hiking lower down into the jungles, we go as low as 6,000 feet and then come back up to 21,000 feet. So it's quite a big jump, and the temperatures are going to be very similar in terms of the jumping. So I need some of these lightweight see-through merino tops. A lot of people bring 3, sometimes 4. Really depends on how much you're going to be sweating, how much you're going to be using them. They don't really swell, they're antimicrobial. The merino is the way to go in terms of these tops. So these are kind of just 2 examples of what you could bring. Both icebreaker brand t-shirts. As I said, I don't bring cotton. I don't bring synthetics. I just bring merino. It is a little bit more expensive, but it is nicer when you're on these kind of longer trips. So 2 or 3 of these t-shirts I'll have with me. For higher up and for sleeping, I want to have a range of other merino tops. So this one has a hood on it. It's a little bit of a thicker top. It's 200 weight merino. I use it for sleeping. I use it for climbing. I mix and match it with a vest or a fleece. I got options in terms of temperatures. And then I always have the kind of thicker merino. This is another 260. Like the bottoms, I have this in the top. 260 merino. I use it for the summit night. I use it sleeping if it's really cold. But I got options. I can use one for a while, then I can use this one. Usually when we go up to Carre at, where's Carre? 16,000 feet. We spend 3 nights there. So you can wash some clothes, you can wash underwear, socks. You got plenty of time to do that. So we kind of have options. Instead of bringing more gear, you can just wash some of the clothes there. So this is kind of upper body. And usually on any mountain expedition, your upper body is going to be the most important in terms of temperatures. Rarely, because your legs are moving continually, are you feeling the cold as much as your extremities and your feet, your hands and your core. So by using the merino long sleeve, by using a vest, so this is synthetic, this one is like a down option, and depending on how you feel in terms of temperatures, you know, you might want to go for the down version because it's going to be warmer, or you want the synthetic too that you can use lower down or higher up. For me, because I run a little bit warmer, I'm going to use this one pretty much all of the time. Unless I was going into polar conditions and really cold conditions all the time, I'll use more down layers. But I like to have a vest lower on the trail if I got a t-shirt on and it's a little bit warmer, but it's cold in the air. You know, you can put this on at lunchtime just to keep you warm. So I like a vest option, and you can consider like a synthetic or a down option for the vest. So I got merino, I got a vest, then I have a fleece option with a hood. Some people go for windbreaker options. I just like this fleece. I use it on pretty much all the trips that I'm on, mixed in with the merino, mixed in with the vest with this, and then I have a down jacket that I can put on underneath it. So I've got the down, and we have a really good down video that you should watch about the different grades of down. You know, people don't be looking at the fill of the down, even though this is an 850. It doesn't really matter when we're talking about down, we're talking about the loft. How much down is in there? You want a big jacket. So the bigger the jacket, the warmer it's going to be. And we can talk through more about what the right jacket is for you. But this is the kind of down jacket that I use, super light. I can carry it in my backpack. I can put in my bigger bag. I can mix and match. It's a great layer to use all the time. But the most important thing is just to make sure it has lots of loft. Bigger down means warmer. So between all these layers and the down, that's pretty much my upper body. You can bring more of these layers. I mean, there's no reason that you should or shouldn't, but that's what I will bring on the Mera Peak climb. I'll slot those in the bag. So from there, into the kind of extremities and kind of sleeping. So you have a range of different options in terms of hats and gloves and how you should manage yourself in the cold temperatures if it's going to be windy, which it usually is on Mera Peak, higher up, how you can manage all that. So I like these base layer gloves that I can slot on my hand. I also like to be able to slot my hand into the bigger glove if I have to, and use this glove for climbing, for using equipment. That's super important. So I have a liner. I can wear that just during the day for trekking. It's a little bit cold. I like to have these bigger gloves on Mera. So these are a black diamond guide glove. I use these climbing Everest. I've used them on Island Peak in colder months. I've used them in the Himalayas, all over the world. Great glove to have. And I think it depends. I run a little bit warm, so sometimes these are kind of overkill for Mera, and you kind of want to go with maybe a lighter glove. These are a Hestra glove, more of a workman's glove. There's lots of different options on gloves. There's black diamond legend gloves, patrol gloves. You really need to understand what the right glove is for you. You don't want to go to Mera Peak and have the wrong glove, too light, and your hands will freeze, guaranteed. So you want to have one of these liner gloves. You can even have a lighter liner glove that's able to slot in. So when you take your hand out, take pictures, you're doing anything, working with crampons, working with harnesses, you're not exposing your hands to metal in the cold. So I like to have a range of gloves. So I have the black diamond guide gloves. I've kind of a lighter option. and then I have the liner glove. So I'll always have those 3 gloves. I'll slot them in here. When it comes to, my face and protecting myself, a lot of people on the trail, when it's dusty lower down, like to have like a light buff that you can just keep around your neck, covers your mouth. From a dust perspective, that's for lower down on the trail. I like to have a fleece line buff for higher up on the mountain. Keeps my throat warm, my neck warm. I'm not letting cold air get into, you're breathing in cold air as it is. You want to protect your neck and your throat and keep from building up that kind of cold cough that you get when you're walking cold temperatures. So I like the fleece line buff, and I'll use that like all the time, just to protect, make sure there's moisture in my mouth that there isn't now, because my mouth is going dry. But you want to keep your mouth like fully hydrated, and you just want to be expelling all the moisture out of your mouth. Buff saved my throat on Everest, and I never go anywhere without it. So I'll have the 2 of those in there. Some people like to use this version. If you're going in the colder months, it's probably worthwhile because they got this neoprene face mask. You're keeping ice building up on your face. It's got the full hood. You can pull it down, pull it back up. It's quite useful, and a lot of people like that setup because you're going to have a helmet on underneath. I like to be able to adjust without having the restriction of doing this. There are pieces that have, the hat portion, and you can have the neoprene face mask separately. So there are options when it comes to this, and you need to think about what will work for you. So these are options to have. In terms of my head, I have just a light fleece-lined hat. If I was going in the really cold temperatures, I might use my thicker one. So it depends on what month I'm going at, and which one I'll use. But mostly I'm using this one with a helmet over the top, and this one is just for like in the camp, hanging them around. So I'm not just using this the whole time. So I always have a couple of options on hats and temperatures. And then, you can wear a baseball hat during the day. I like to wear it doesn't look the best, but the brimmed hat. It just keeps the sun off. At altitude, there's less protection from the sun, less UV filter, and you just don't want to be getting burnt. Your body's already dealing with the lack of oxygen. It's already got challenges trying to recover from the long walks. You don't need to be adding any other problems like sunburn or any of those type of problems. So I do like to wear the brimmed hat, cover myself, and I always have sun cream with me anyway. But this hat, very useful all the way through the trip. So there's a few kind of smaller items that we'll talk about now. But really, let's get into the camping, because Mera Peak, some of our trips are fully camping. Some of them are like a mixture of lodges and then 7 days of camping or 8 days, depending on the weather. We have the option to go inside into these very basic lodges, or we'll use the tents the whole time. So you do need to have a thermarest. You don't want a big, massive one, but something that is like the more comfortable it is, the better. Like 2 inches thick is what you should be aiming for. The really light ones, you're going to be lying on your side. Your hips are going to be sore the next day. You got to remember you're spending 9, 10, 11, sometimes 12 hours in the tent. So you definitely want to be having a really comfortable mattress. So think about that in terms of your comfort. It's really, really important. So I'll have a nice thermarest. And then my sleeping bag looks big, but it packs down into very, very little. It's a down sleeping bag. It's a Marmot Call bag, if you can see this. I've built in some pockets to keep batteries warm. I usually have my Nalgene bottle full at night, where I'm putting that, filling that with boiling water and putting it inside, depending on the temperatures. But you definitely want to keep batteries, phones, all that sort of stuff inside here. But this has a nice hood. It can keep me nice and covered. I can still breathe out of the sleeping bag. It looks pretty big, but it's rated to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a down sleeping bag, and it's super warm. If it's too hot lower down the trail, I can just open it up, use it as a kind of a blanket. I I prefer to be warm when I need to be, and if it's too hot in the trail, I can open the sleeping bag out and just kind of deal with it. But you will not sleep if you don't have a good sleeping bag. So think about what you want to do in terms of that. But we rent sleeping bags in Kathmandu in our office, and always invest, I think, in the boots, in the gloves, and definitely in the sleeping bag. So while I have it out, you don't need to have any of this equipment with you, because on our trips we supply all of it. But you will be using a harness, you'll have a safety line, you'll be using a Jumar potentially. Some years are different. This year there was no need to Jumar or abseil off the summit to get back down to the glacier. But we spend days training on this. If you come with that skill set already, very, very useful. You'll be using a Jumar, you'll be using a safety, and you'll be using a figure of 8 to abseil if you need to. So a lot of people do some training beforehand. We do training programs for it. You don't need to bring any of this kit with you, but if you do want to bring it, we can talk more about that. So I'll always have my own gear with me. So in addition to that too, hydration is probably one of the most important things on the mountain. I'm trying to drink, 4 or 5 liters a day. Normally I don't carry more than 2 liters, but if I do, I have it in this camelback. And usually I have a cover on the camelback. If there's a lot of dust spilling up, you don't want this mouthpiece getting dirty, then you're inhaling it, potentially getting sick. So always have a mouthpiece. 2 liter camelback is fine. And I always have 1 or 2 Nalgene's for the summit night. We can fill these up with boiling water before we leave the tent. We head up the mountain, they'll cool down nicely in the colder temperatures, and then you'll be able to drink them. So you want to have options in terms of hydration. If something breaks, you want to have 2 Nalgene's, you want to have 1 of these. So that's my hydration system, and I'll have this in my backpack every day. So other pieces of kit. A lot of people like to use these kind of stuff sacks. Some people just use plastic bags. Either way, you can kind of label the bag and have on it socks or underwear, or socks and underwear, or base layers, just to be keeping your gear separate in your bag, so you're not kind of loading dirty clothes in on top of clean clothes. So these can be quite useful. Plastic bags work just as good. I always like to have a couple of plastic bags so I can put my trail shoes in. If I've been walking around in the dirt, I can put the trail shoes in the plastic bag and then put them in here without getting all my gear dirty. So it's good to have some plastic bags, some of these bags to keep your dirties kind of separate, and manageable, because when you're in a tent and if it's blasting wind and you're tired, you want to kind of know where everything is. You don't want to be reaching for head torches or equipment. You want to know exactly, oh, there's the bag with that stuff. So being organized is kind of important, especially when you're camping. So I'll have a few of these. I'll have some plastic bags. I'll have my own harness. I'll have my own water systems, 2 Nalgene's with me. But just other things, you're going to have toiletries, you're going to have, toothbrush, toothpaste, you're going to have sun cream, you're going to have earbuds, you're going to have all these kind of personal items. But you want to try and keep it to a minimum. But I'll have that with me, and I'll slap that in my bag. There's a few other things, especially something you might want to use. Sometimes this is a solar panel with a power bank built into it. Other people like to bring, it's a little bit heavier, and they want to have a solar panel, and they want to have this kind of battery pack, which will give you like 10 charges on your phone. Different options. You can go with a bigger solar panel to charge everything, or go with the battery pack in the solar panel. Personal option, I would just go with something small, easy to use. I'll have one of these in with me. When you're camping, some people want, just a little bit more comfort, something light. This is a pillow, just a self-inflating Thermarest pillow that you can use. Some people use, stuffed down gear and all the other gear into their backpack, put the backpack on, then you can sleep comfortably. Depends, it's super light, super small, compact's really small. It's nice to have a little bit of comfort when you're spending a lot of time in the tent. So you could think about taking a blow-up pillow. You definitely want to bring a head torch. Some people like to have 2 because they know they lose them or break them. But definitely have some spare batteries. Make sure you've checked the batteries, make sure everything is working before you leave. Any head torch, we recommend a certain type, but one or two, make sure you have spare batteries. Sunglasses, you definitely need these. I like the wider brim that has the protection from the sun, so they're like wrap around. There's going to be no sun hitting the glacier and kind of getting into my eyes. So I like these more wraparound glasses, more the ones that don't break as much. If I did sit in them in a tent or in a lodge, or you definitely want to have two of these though. These are category 4 glasses, and we can recommend a certain brand or glass for you, or glasses for you. So I'll definitely have 2 pairs of these. You should also have like a small medical kit, and in there, you know, depending on Diamox, all sorts of medication that we recommend to bring: hand wash, hand sanitizer, lip balm, sun cream, ibuprofen, medications, and we can help you kind of get, you know, we have a big medical kit with us, but it's important to have your own kind of personal gear with you. So usually you can either carry that in your day pack or have certain things. You definitely want to be having a medical kit with you. There's lots of probably small things that need to be covered, but that's the basis of what I will bring on a Mera Peak trip. That's all my gear. And I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been up Mera Peak 6 times. I've been up Everest to the top. I've been up Island Peak 15 times and Kilimanjaro 30 times. So I've used all this gear lots and lots. So feel free to contact us, get in touch. It's iantaylortrekking.com. We'd love to talk to you about having the right gear, getting the right training, and the right itinerary for your Mera Peak climb.